My wife and I have been struggling for the last few years. When she first started working for a new boss, even though they were remote, I could tell the relationship was too familiar and casual. We discussed it openly and I politely asked her to scale back the personal relationship to address my concerns. She acknowledged and said she would do that. Fast forward another 6 months or so and I discover that her relationship has changed, but for the worse. They were now messaging in apps where they could hide the messages, regularly deleting messages, and my wife was regularly taking sexual photos of herself. I confronted her about the deleted messages and the attempts to hide the relationship and she basically said 1. She had not actually done anything wrong and 2. She liked the attention because that is who she is and I have to learn to live with it. I told her she is having an emotional affair and she denied that was true but that it was innocent flirting and that I was essentially a jealous husband and I don't like her being around any other men. I disagreed but asked her again to limit her relationship to this boss to professional only. She claimed she would work on it. A few months later, my wife and her boss had a falling out over work issues and the boss left a few months later. At the time, my wife was devastated. She tried to keep it away from me but our kids told me that she cried for a few weeks and had been upset about her boss leaving. I acknowledged it briefly to her but did not make a big deal out of it. After that, he reached out once right after he left and she ripped him for essentially leaving her. The two didn't talk again for 6 months. My wife decided to change jobs soon after and found a new job. She kept asking me if the new job was the right choice but I just told her I will support her in whatever decision she made. She took the job. Our marriage did not really improve. I could not put my finger on it but I was still unhappy. My wife was frustrated that I didn't just worship her. I then realized that she was making changes to fix a problem we never discussed. She thought she could skip the hard part of acknowledging her affair and just make changes like it never happened. I called her on it and asked why she was making changes. She gave a generic answer that she let work be more important than her marriage and family. When I pushed for details of what that meant, she refused to give more. This made me furious because she refused to acknowledge that she had engaged in behavior that was impacting me, and just swept it under the rug. Now that the behavior was no longer available, she was making changes but still not addressing the harm to our marriage. Where was my apology and what was it that she was apologizing for? This last fall, I came across a page of web searches for happy ending massages, sexual massages by men, and sensual massages in our local area. I confronted her and she claimed that it was just a curiosity and she never acted in anything like that. A little more research and I found she had been messaging with a local masseuses regularly. When I asked her about this, she claimed that I knew about him and she told me he was coming to our home once to give her a massage. This conversation never happened. I asked if anything sexual happened and she adamantly denied. I asked to see the text messages and she said they were casual massages about availability but had deleted them. I know that each text thread was about 15-20 messages back and forth. My wife swore she would not get any more massages until I was comfortable but nothing inappropriate happened. I told her she could make her own decision but erotic massage was cheating in my view. About a month ago, I discovered that my wife had been messaging with new masseurs. This time I messaged these guys individually to see how legit they were and it was clear they were all about the sexual encounter and not a lot of massage. I was furious. I asked my wife about these people and she admitted that she had messaged them out of curiosity but never did anything. Most of them were located out of state. She admitted that it was a sexual fantasy of hers but that she would never act on it and messaged them in a moment of weakness. I don't know what to do about this. Fast forward to now. I do not believe my wife speaks much with her old boss but they speak occasionally. I discovered that my wife received an explicit photo from her former boss. It was sent to her while she was out of the country on a business trip. When I found it, I gave it a couple days and then confronted her. She claimed it was sent as a joke and they do not have a romantic relationship. Around the same time I discovered she was recording erotic photos and videos but never shared them with me. She claimed she was going to share them with me in the future but wanted to take them because she felt sexy at that moment. I asked to see the messages but they had been deleted. I asked her why she didn't at least share that it had happened and she claimed that I would be upset. I agreed but it would have been better than how I felt now. I reiterated that her relationship was hurting me and her related choices made it clear that she valued her former boss over her marriage. It also validated the concerns I had voiced for years. She claimed to have changed that relationship so that her boss meant nothing and she scolded him for sending the picture. I told her that most people would not carry on any communication if it was harming their marriage and was unnecessary. She asked me if I wanted her to block his number and I told her she can make her own decision, but I wanted transparency on whatever she decided to do. After thinking about the actions, I decided that her boss wife has a right to know what he is doing, especially if unsolicited. I told my wife and she was very upset by the possibility of me sharing this info with his wife. I posted on Truth My chest about this and most people said I need to face the fact my wife is a cheater. I had a long talk with her after that post and demanded to know what was going on. She gave me the same answers but I insisted to know the nature of their relationship. Eventually she agreed that the relationship was an emotional affair and that her boss' recent communication is an attempt to rekindle that, but she has no interest and is committed to our marriage. In a weird way, hearing her admit that made me feel instantly better. I am not saying all is forgiven or that we don't have a lot to work on, but hearing those words calmed my heart. I knew our marriage was struggling but the second-guessing my gut instinct was causing me to lose sleep, unable to work, and unable to trust much of anything. I now realize I can trust that feeling, regardless of what my wife is saying. I don't know where to go from here with my wife but I am learning to trust myself. People aren't victim blaming you, they are desperately trying to get you to realize how bad your wife is being. At every turn in your post, you give her the benefit of the doubt and minimize. She a liar, time to start thinking worst case scenarios. And it probably worse than that. She all but certainly had a PA with her boss. She sent him those pics and vid. She absolutely has sex with the masseuse and probably others. She can even hide her sadness at losing her AP from the kids. Accept who she is, a liar and a cheater, then decide how to move forward. I would at least consult a lawyer to shake her into reality because right now she thinks for good reason that she can rug sweep and manipulate you without consequences. That was the first story and now we are going to listen today's second story. My GF cheated on me for a year in our 3-year relationship and I am having trouble taking her back. What can I do to stop thinking of the details? Should I still care about her feelings? So I 20M, have not told this story outside of Reddit except for 2 people and I am having an internal battle deciding on whether or not I should take back my cheating girlfriend 20F. And I will be telling this story in the timeline order that I put together after finding everything in her phone. In late February 2022 me and my girlfriend had an early-term abortion due to neither of us having the means or feeling any type of ready for a child. We were both 19 at the time. Early March was her birthday and we went out for dinner and had a great time as I showered her with gifts and love as a way to recognize the pain that she had went through and show her in there for her. A month passes and my birthday arrives first week of April and we go out and have a ball, sleeping together for the first time and then spending the next day out of town. I had thought it was a great time but little did I know she had developed a work crush around this same week. So, according to her latest rendition of the truth, she had sex with him the first time early May late April. My girlfriend was not known as a hoe nor did she get around when we were in school, which is why I pursued her. So for her to let another man in is really jarring to me, but we will continue. So at this time I had stopped working to focus on college for the rest of my semester, still having enough to take her out and have nice dinners or go to the beach etc. without having to be down to my last. I treated her all the time being blind to the fact she was cheating. So I started a new job that didn't align with her work schedule. That is, her off days were my working days and her working days were my off days. Being fresh high school graduates, we both stayed with our parents, so we could not really see each other until one of us got out of work, but even then one of us was tired. So sometime between early May and end of June they had sex again, and reading her messages I found out he almost gave her head, but she backed out that day but went back soon after for another booty call. Towards the end of June I had invited her to a family affair in which she had wanted to go but shared her doubts of going to me, claiming she was shy, but ended up going anyways, and we even fooled around a bit after. Little did I know her side piece had invited her over for another booty call that same night, which is why she was reluctant to come with me, wanting to see him and even voicing this opinion to a friend of her who said she should choose him over me and go have sex with him again. From the months of May to September I do remember twice FaceTiming her and the room being pitch black but her sounding wide awake. She later confessed that those times were actually her at his house but not actually having sex. She says that I stopped her from having sex with him those nights, so she sped home right after and she ended up having sex sex with him again between then and the last week of September that I didn't know about, but from what she told me it had to be within that time frame because at the end of September we went on a date to our local pumpkin patch, and on the way back home I noticed her hiding her phone when she texted and also playing iMessage games, which we don't do to at all, and I bit the bullet that night for sake of not ruining our great day. In the following days I paid her a visit and got on her phone to watch TikTok, noticing she had a high amount of unread messages, and I found a guy named that I didn't recognize, and when she entered the room I asked her who it was and why he was sending her TikTok, to which she responded confused, saying what took her phone, and said she had to call her mom, and in the process of doing so I could see her doing the motions on her phone to delete a conversation, and after she hung up the phone she proceeded to show me the inbox again, but this time with his name missing, to which I then knew she was cheating, but not in a sexual manner but what I thought was the beginning of such. I then said, so why are the messages missing? She swore on our relationship she did no such thing, and at this point she is sitting on my chest looking me in my eyes and lying while I am holding her phone. So I then said okay and went to her messages and tried to open up messages from her friend to see if there was anything more. She then started trying to claw my eyes out and choke me to get her phone back, and I moved away from her while holding the phone, and she continued to climb and jump and kick me as I maneuvered through her mom's apartment. I then got a grasp on what was happening to my relationship and was about to concede when a message popped up under the same name as her aunt, but when I tried to open it she fought even harder, confirming my suspicion. I then walked out and cried on my drive home, knowing that my girlfriend was hiding another man from me. I was broken for a few days, but after numerous questions I finally asked her if they had sex or anything of the sort, and she told me no, they never had sex, they never saw each other, and that they only talked about stocks and played iMessage games. I later found that to be a lie. Our anniversary falls in Oct and we needed up making amends, or so I thought, and celebrated our 3-year anniversary on October 25th in private, choosing not to post on social media given the recent events. I then informed her that my father, who had recently parted ways with my family, had invited me and my siblings out of state to visit him and attend a car show the first or second weekend of November and come back on Monday or Tuesday, I cannot remember at the moment. A few days before I left for my short trip she came to my house in tears because she felt as if her family was mistreating her and not seeing her, so as her boyfriend I comforted her, reassured her of my presence and patience, and stayed with her until 3 a.m. that night, making sure she was okay and would know that I love her. So when I go on my trip I just so happen to leave on a Thursday. She works at Moan. The first couple days go good between us, but then we got into a petty disagreement because I felt as if she was not communicating in the same way that she would if I was back home. We then argue for a good hour and then she says I tired and never responds again until the next morning. I later find out she went back to her side piece's house for one last booty call because she felt as if I was not committed to our relationship because I failed to get her a promise ring for the 2nd year in a row. So her logic was, if he don't want to commit to me, I not gonna commit to him. But the next day she claims she felt horrible and didn't want to live that life anymore and stopped seeing him. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't read all that. The fact of the matter is that she cheated. She acted in one of the most selfish ways possible and actively disrespected you. If you're really okay with moving forward with her after that, then that's your choice, but please consider whether you actually want to continue that relationship. If I were in your shoes, it's GG no Ray. Cheaters don't deserve second chances, and you deserve better than that. Thanks for listening everyone. If you enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Reddit Zone to never miss a future upload.